barracks constructed.
Hello folks, Opus here, and welcome to this first tutorial in a series regarding how to create, edit, and customize basic warfare missions of your own in Arma 2 and Operation Arrowhead. By warfare missions, we're talking about the warfare module that exists in the game's mission editor, which when properly set up automatically generates a battlefield conflict to play in, towns to capture, missions to go on, resources to manage, supports to use, and enemy bases with a headquarters to locate and destroy. It gets used in Arma 2's Harvest Red campaign, along with several other missions in the game, like War Welcome, Superpowers, When Diplomacy Fails, and in Operation Arrowhead there's Mountain Warfare. Those missions use the Warfare module. If you're a fan of the user-made modded Warfare editions like Benny or Gossamer or Rubber editions of Warfare, I'm sorry, this series is not about the modded editions. This series intends to show how to create warfare missions of your own in the editor and how to customize your own warfare missions using scripts. There are a number of videos showing how to play warfare missions, but there's never been much available showing how to properly create and customize them. So by creating this series, hopefully it will fill a void. This series will assume you know some basics about Arma 2, like how to create missions of your own in the mission editor, and how to locate the mission files that get saved in your Arma 2 documents folder. If not, YouTube has video tutorials showing how that's done. Search for Arma 2 editing and Arma 2 scripting. That being said, let me first cover my setup that you see here. I use startup parameters in Steam to have my game launch faster. That's why there's an empty ocean. The splash screen is disabled and the world set to empty, so an island won't load until I pick a map from the editor or launch a mission. What you see here is an empty world. No map is loaded. Once a map gets loaded, scenes for an island will appear. I also use a parameter that shows a black box whenever a script error gets found. You can see that happen here because one of the mods in my list has a very minor error, but it never causes a problem. It's a parameter used for editing and testing out scripts, but with normal gameplay it's distracting, so I use it sometimes and other times I won't. Here I'm playing in Arma 2 Combined Operations, which is Arma 2 and Operation Arrowhead together as one. Sometimes I will launch Arma 2 alone, and sometimes I might launch Arrowhead alone. Does that make any difference? Not really. When you have Arma 2 alone, it only has its own content, maps, units, vehicles, and such. It has nothing from Arrowhead. Operation Arrowhead is a standalone expansion, which means it can be bought and played by itself. And when that's the case, you don't have any maps, units, vehicles, or structures from Arma 2. You only have the ones from Arrowhead. So if you're playing only Arma 2, or you're playing standalone OA, that's Operation Arrowhead, you won't have some of the maps, factions, or units that I have here in Combined Ops. It's not a big deal at all. For what I'm going to be showing, you can use any maps or any units you do have from the BluFor, OpFor, and independent sides. Now I play using the final version of Arma 2 and Arrowhead. I say final because the developer, Bohemia Interactive, is done updating the game. No more updates. Their focus is Arma 3 and now Reforger, which just came out. But some of you might not use this version 1.6.4 that I use. For whatever reason, you might be playing an earlier version. That won't make any difference when it comes to editing in the map. Later on, when it comes to scripting, then there might be some differences. An older version might need some extra scripting done to resolve issues found and fixed in the more current versions. And if opportunity presents itself, I might point some of that out. But in the editor itself, everything is done the same. I might add that if or when we get into custom scripting, I do that with dedicated server, hosted multiplayer, and single-player environments in mind, because really, whatever gets done needs to work in all three of those. Here you can see that I have the DLC and expansions for Arrowhead, Army of the Czech Republic, British Armed Forces, Private Military Company. They don't change at all how warfare works, but they do add new units and vehicles into the game. I hope to use those some other time when showing how to swap out units that can be purchased in the factories. Modded units can be swapped out the same way as these units. Now, creating a mission is done under single player or multiplayer. It depends on the mission you want to create. Important thing is that multiplayer has respawn. Single player does not have respawn at all. It uses team switch, where if you get killed, you can transfer to another unit that's still alive on the map. But warfare only allows respawn. It does not allow team switch at all. Team switch is fully disabled in warfare. In single player, if you get killed, it's mission over. Multiplayer is where you get respawn. And in warfare, I get killed all the time. I gotta have respawn. So all of the missions I make in this series are going to be done in multiplayer. Creating a single player warfare mission is no different. Just understand that if you do, it won't have any respawn or team switch. First time you die, the mission's over. However, single player is a good place for testing things in the editor because you don't have to save anything in order to preview it. Going into single player, you choose editor, select a map, and the map loads, place units, preview. You can test what you want without saving. Escape, abort, nothing is saved. Multiplayer is not like that. To preview what you have in multiplayer, you have to save a mission first before you can preview. And if you're testing anything with scripts, you will need a mission folder. So for that, you have to save. But for simple testing in the editor, single player doesn't have to be saved. So I do use single player for that. Now in combined operations, there are two different warfare modules. Arma 2 has its own warfare module, which is simply listed as warfare. And when playing Arma 2 alone without Arrowhead, you're only going to see this warfare module. But Operation Arrowhead also has a warfare module of its own, which is listed as Warfare OA. If you're playing standalone OA, you're only going to see that warfare module. When playing in combined ops, which is Arma 2 and Arrowhead combined, both of these modules appear in the list. There's two different warfare modules, Warfare and Warfare OA. Is there any difference between the two? Yes, but it's a small difference. Arma 2 has a European woodland setting, and its warfare module is set up for a woodland environment. The default factions available in the factories come from Arma 2. Operation Arrowhead has a Middle East desert type setting, and its warfare module is set up for a desert environment. The default factions available in its factories come from Arrowhead. Otherwise, the two modules do exactly the same thing. So in combined ops, like I have, the map will usually decide which module gets used. Playing on a woodland map, you would usually want to use A2's warfare module. But if it's a desert map, then there's the Warfare OA module. It's just a matter of which environment you want to match. And you can change the factions that are set up in either one of the modules. I hope to show that another time. In the editor on the right, there's the Merge button. It becomes important later. You can save a basic warfare mission as a template, then use Merge to copy it over to any other map. For example, I'm on Utez right now, but I'll select Zargabad. I did some warfare testing there earlier. Select the warfare test, and as you can see, the Zargabad test is now copied in. I can use this as the start of a new mission on Utez, and I don't have to place those units, just move them around. But Merge does not set player or playable units. You have to do that before saving. Set one as a player and others as playable. It also only copies objects from the editor. It does not copy over any scripts. Once you save, My New Mission, that creates the mission file, and you can manually copy any scripts over to the mission file. So what we're going to do is create a basic warfare mission to serve as a template and use that to merge onto other maps when creating missions. Now when I say basic, as in a basic warfare mission, It means there are no scripts, it's just an editor mission. Warfare will play straight from the editor. Just understand that even in multiplayer, there won't be any respawn. Technically, you do respawn as a bird, but you can't keep playing, so the mission comes to an end. Also, it won't have any optional parameters to choose from, like supports available, max number of towns, or conditions to win. Instead, it plays using defaults. A regular warfare mission has one script file added to the mission folder called a description.ext. The description.ext is a mission config file, which is important. It provides respawn and the optional parameters. Without a description.ext, there's no respawn or optional parameters. And finally, a customized warfare mission is one where other scripts have been added to the mission file. This can dramatically alter the whole aspect of how warfare plays. Scripts can do simple things like change starting funds or swap out the factions in the factories, or they could swap out entire scripts that warfare uses. Everything in warfare can be customized to your own liking when you're using scripts. So these are the terms that I use: basic warfare, regular warfare, customized warfare. Right now I'm going to create a couple templates and 2 basic missions, merging a template onto different maps. The next video will show how to change a basic warfare mission into a regular one by adding a description.ext file. The video after that will focus on adding start locations and capture sites onto a map. Then I'll cover how to add SecOps modules to get extra missions and supports. Then after that, we'll get into customized warfare, using scripts to change things around. That's the goal anyway. But first, I need to talk about these units. Units get synchronized with the warfare module, but you only ever want to synchronize individual men to warfare. Do not use vehicles or groups. Empty vehicles are fine. They become the base motor pool. But with units, you only use men. Warfare does not allow players to start in vehicles. When a mission starts, any vehicle a player has will get removed. The same with groups. If the player has any units, they get removed. The exception is when it's another player. Players won't get removed, but when one player is on another player's team, issues begin to happen after respawn occurs. It's better off not having multiple players in a single team. Just have each playable unit be its own leader. And when AI leaders have a vehicle or a group, it really creates problems. They might keep their vehicle or their team, or they could lose them. It depends on the vehicle and what kind of team they are: infantry, armor, mechanized, or whatever. It will increase their money, because whatever they lose when the mission starts or when they respawn, the vehicles and units you give them get cashed in. The AI leaders receive refunds for them. And when they lose their stuff at game start, some will go off running outside the base and stop. They won't buy any units, and they won't automatically do missions. It becomes a real problem. So don't use vehicles and don't use groups. Only use individual men. It prevents these problems from happening. Now, the warfare modules have default factions set up inside them. The factions for Arma 2's warfare are: for BluFor, USMC; for OpFor, Russia; for Independent, Guerrillas. And the Warfare OA factions are: for BluFor, US; for OpFor, Takistani Army; for Independent, Takistani Locals. The units you place for a template should stick to the default factions, because warfare will stick to its default factions until customized by scripts. You might want some of the other factions, like British Armed Forces or Army of the Czech Republic units, but until those factions get added to the factories with a script in the mission folder, warfare factories will only produce units from the default factions. And a merged template won't transfer any scripts, it only transfers the units. Once you've merged, saved, and added a new faction into a mission folder, then you can switch the units on the map over to their intended faction. Now, when creating a mission, you'll know what map you want to use, but with a new map you've never made a warfare mission on before, you first need to check for two things. Does the map itself have any random start locations or any capture sites? Because if it doesn't, you'll have to create those yourself. Some maps have them, but other maps don't. Creating them isn't hard, but we'll cover it in another video. Right now, I'm just going to show you how to check. You're looking for random base placement and places to capture on the map. It's a test you can do in Singleplayer Editor. I'll use three maps: Utez, Chernarus, and Bystrica. Utez and Chernarus come from Arma 2, and Bystrica comes from Army of the Czech Republic DLC. First, let's go to Chernarus, because most everyone knows it does have towns to capture and random base positions at start. But is that because they're part of the map, or do they get set up using the editor? To test a map, first find a clear spot and place a unit. Any unit, doesn't matter, just has to be from BluFor, OpFor, or independent side. Notice where you place him on the map. I have him here between Stary and Novi Sobor. Then go to Modules and place a Warfare module. It doesn't matter where. Then select Synchronize and sync the unit to the module, or the module to the unit, either way, doesn't matter. Now preview the mission. First thing you look for is starting locations. Does the base start out in the same place where the unit was put on the map? We end up somewhere else. Stary and Novi Sobor are over here. So now we know that this map has its own random start locations. Then you look for capture sites. They show on the map as black boxes, and we can see those scattered around here. So now we know that this map has its own capture sites. But what about Bystrica? Let's test that one. Bystrica is actually a submap of Chernarus, with some changes made for Army of the Czech Republic DLC. Here you have Electro, here you have Cherno. Most of the towns and roads up here are the same, but it's smaller and has no place names. You could label them if you want, whatever you want them to be. It's not hard to do, but that's another video. Does it have starting locations and capture sites like Chernarus? Let's find a clear spot, place a unit, place a warfare module, sync the two together, and preview. Here I'm using the startup parameter to show script errors, and you can see here that an error occurs. It says locations are not defined, but unless you're using the parameter, you won't see that in your game. We end up in the same spot he was placed. That would be because Bystrica doesn't have any random start locations. And looking around the map, you can see it doesn't have any capture sites either. Not finding any capture sites at all is why that error occurs. So Bystrica is an empty map. No start locations for bases, no capture sites. To play Warfare on it, you have to set those up. That'll be the subject of another video. The map is empty, but if we were to spread the units around the map, where would the base go? Would that make different starting points? Let me place some units around the map in clear spots and place a Warfare module. Now this is the unit I placed first, but I'm going to make this unit the player. I'll make this unit playable, and I'm going to synchronize this unit to the Warfare module first, then the others. Preview. And notice where we all went. There's my guys, there's the headquarters, but this is the spot where the first synchronized unit was located. Let's restart the mission twice and see if we go someplace else. Once again, the synced unit's location. And once again, the synced unit's location. That's because on a map that doesn't have any starting locations, it doesn't matter how you spread the units out. The base for each side is going to go where the first synchronized unit for each side gets placed, and all synced units for that side get moved to the base. Last, we'll run a test on UTEZ, because it's a small map, and small maps present a unique issue in warfare. I'll tell you ahead of time, it has 5 capture sites and 6 starting locations set up in the map. You can tell because recon missions do get assigned. But when you run the test, it seems like it doesn't have any starting locations at all. That's because warfare does not allow a start location to be used when it's within 600 meters of a capture site. And UTEZ is such a small island that 5 out of the 6 starting locations are within 600 meters of a capture site. Those get excluded, leaving only 1. And when there are less than 3 valid start locations, 1 for each side, they all get excluded. And since they all get excluded, warfare starts out on UTEZ as if it has no random base locations at all. Where you place the first synced unit for a side is where the base begins. Place a unit, place a warfare module, and sync them together. Preview the mission. The base ends up where you place the unit. So you might think it doesn't have any random start locations. But it does. Those who have played the War Welcome mission in Arma 2 might recall that the bases on UTEZ do go to random spots. That's because in that mission, Bohemia uses a script to customize warfare, and it shortens the distance a base can be from a capture point. So that particular mission uses the random start locations on UTEZ. How that's done is for another video. Just remember that on UTEZ, if you create a basic or a regular warfare mission, meaning there are no extra scripts, the bases will go where the first synchronized unit for a side gets placed. To use its base locations, you have to include scripts. But more important, if you have to create starting locations for any other map, especially for small maps, they have to be placed outside the 600-meter range of a town's capture point. Otherwise, they get excluded as well. Now that we've covered how to check a map, I'm going to set up some templates from scratch and show how they're used to create basic warfare missions. I'll do this in multiplayer. Going into multiplayer, first set the address to LAN. Internet lobby is usually the wrong place for mission editing. Select New to create a mission server. The Create Game panel pops up, and it's only important when hosting a mission for others to join. It's not important for editing, so just hit OK and choose a map. We're creating a new mission, but not one intended to play. It's a template to merge on other maps, so I don't have to keep placing units on every single map I want to play warfare on. Small maps are better for this sort of template, so I'm going to use UTEZ because it's a small map. On the right, under Mission, you want New Editor. Click Play. Creating the template starts with placing a unit for each of the 3 sides: BluFor, OpFor, and Independent. They need some space in between, but not a whole lot. Faction should be the default faction for the warfare module being used. Rank doesn't matter, but I like Sergeant. Set Special to None. Nobody should be grouped, and this helps to show when units are grouped. When you preview, if you see a unit move to formation, then you know some units are grouped. The units can be any type you want: a medic, a crewman, a rifleman, whatever. I like squad leaders. Their icon shows rank and you can identify them when dead. For Independent, that's the Warlord. Then select your first unit, hover over it, and hit Ctrl-C. That copies it to clipboard. Move your cursor to the next space and hit Ctrl-V. That will paste a copy of the unit. Keep pasting until you have 8 units. Copy and paste prevents them from automatically grouping. If you click them down, they'll group, and you have to undo their grouping. You don't want them grouped. Each one serves as the leader of their own group. And because this is a template, you don't have to set units as playable. When you merge to another map, the setting doesn't carry over anyway. Now we start placing the next side. Click and hover, Control-C, and Control-V. And again, we start placing the next side. Click and hover, Control-C, and Control-V. Okay, once you have all the units down, place a warfare module. This is a woodland map, so I'm using the A2 module. But if this template gets merged to a desert map, I can simply double-click on it and flip it to an OA module. Same with the team leaders. You cannot change their side, but you can change faction and unit type when you need to. Now synchronize each unit with the warfare module. As you see here, I formed a square when I placed the different sides. 3 squares that form on line with some space in between. That helps to keep things neat and tidy for later on when I add the base defense teams and go to add the SecOp modules, which will be subject of another video. When you want Warfare to have SecOp supports or include random SecOp missions, each playable leader gets their own SecOps module, and forming them in this way helps to keep all that stuff organized. You'll know at a glance which units are assigned as base defense and which leaders have SecOps modules. Also, on an empty map with no capture sites or starting locations, there's going to be logics thrown down everywhere. This helps to keep the warfare teams, their vehicles, and their SecOps modules all together, organized in a pretty small area. Okay, here we have the simplest and most basic warfare mission there is. If you like, save the mission. Any templates should only be saved as user missions. Don't export to single missions or multiplayer. It creates a packaged mission file in your Steam folders which will not merge onto a map. Normally when you have a fully complete mission, scripts and all, then you would export it. I'll save this as Warfare Basic Template. Now these leaders will command teams carrying out the assignments set by the commander. In a mission, the max number of teams that each side can have is 32. That includes the AI defense teams at base. So why do I put down 8 units per side in the Warfare template when there can be so many more? It's because 8 is the number of team defaults. Warfare has what's called team templates, and each side has 8 default templates. They determine a team's type, whether it's going to be infantry, armor, mechanized, or whatever. These get assigned at mission start, from the first leader to the last, in the order they were synchronized. When there are less than 8 leaders, it stops, but more than 8 leaders, and they cycle through again. First, it assigns to infantry, then mechanized, armor, mechanized, armor, mechanized. If there's an 8th team, it's a Spec Ops team, which is a light foot mobile infantry, snipers and such. They only move around on foot. But if there are more than 8 teams, the assignments start all over again, with infantry, mechanized, armor. Even players get assigned these default templates. It gets used when they leave the game. Player leaves, the AI takes over. The AI leader uses the team's default template. So you could put down less, or you could put down more units. But when you're going to put down more units, you have to think about lag and bandwidth. Because every leader is going to be buying vehicles and soldiers, and more units on the map means more drag on the server. It can slow a mission down. So 8 units per side is the usual number, and this is a warfare mission template. After you merge it to a map, then you can remove any excess units or copy and paste more if you like, however you want your mission to be. If you like, entire sides can be removed and shift more units to whichever sides remain. Keep in mind that the number of sides will affect who has default control over towns at the mission start. In a three-sided warfare like this, nobody controls the towns at mission start. They're all civilian, which is white. In two-sided warfare, all towns get held by whichever side is missing. That side does not have a base, so all they can do is defend. And as towns get captured, they die off and disappear. And in a one-sided warfare, all towns are held by independent, unless independent is the side being played, in which case all towns are held by OpFor. I need to point out that a one-sided basic warfare, having no scripts at all, will never end. The default victory condition is destroy the enemy base, and in one-sided warfare there's no enemy base to destroy. So the mission keeps going and going even after all the towns get captured. But a regular warfare mission has parameters. Select an optional victory condition like score, time, or number of towns captured, and when that's achieved, a one-sided warfare will end. Because this is UTES with no usable start locations, we can't preview this right now. Everybody will be right here on the airfield. So instead, I'll merge this template to create a new mission, and then preview that. We'll start with a clear map. When starting to create a mission, you need to set the intel panel. This is important because independents are automatically set friendly to BluFor. If they're left friendly to a side, those two sides will start the mission under a ceasefire, and they generally won't battle each other. It takes a player commander on both sides, communicating through diplomacy, to change that. So make sure you check that independents are set friendly to nobody, especially in a single player mission, because then there won't be another commander to negotiate with. Name sets the display name for the mission, and description sets a very brief summary. The date is not important, but the time is. Once optional parameters get set up, the mission starting time becomes an option. The time you set here becomes the mission default selection. Weather can be anything you want. Now we click Merge and select which map has the template. Mine is on UTES. Then select the template from the mission name list and hit OK. The template copies onto the map, but it doesn't carry over player or playable units, so we have to select a player and set the rest as playable. Okay, if this was a map with random base locations, then it's done. But no, this is UTES and they're all excluded. We have to move units around where we want their bases to be. So I'll put these guys here, these guys there, and those guys off over there. Now save the mission. I'll name this mission Basic Warfare. Once again, I'm keeping it in user missions because it's not complete yet. Normally you won't export a mission until it's fully complete, scripts and all. Now we can preview. I can be BluFor, OpFor, or independent. I'll test BluFor first. Alright, really I just want to see that the warfare stuff is working well. So we can see that the towns, capturable towns are there. We can see the warfare menu items. And we can see that our base is where we placed our units. Going into the mission, I'm going to vote for an AI commander so that things get moving quickly. Now, whether you vote for yourself or whether you vote for an AI commander, you want to get close to the headquarters. And the reason is because if you vote for yourself, then you need to be close to the headquarters to deploy it, but if you vote for an AI commander, they won't think twice about dropping a barracks on your head. So the first things to get built are usually the barracks and the vehicle supply point. And I need to wait for the barracks to be built before I can buy myself a decent gun. I don't ever care for this gun. Alright, so now we have a barracks. Get rid of these grenades. Get myself a gun that I prefer. And some M203 grenades. Alright. Also, we'll buy myself a medic in case I get hurt. Alright. That's better. Now, one of the things you'll notice is there's no vehicles around. There's no vehicle pool. And if you want a vehicle, you have to purchase one. So if I want to buy a vehicle, then I have to have the money for a vehicle. For instance, if I want to get an M2 Humvee, it's $500. Empty is $300. Now I could afford the $300, not the $500. But also another thing is that the AI commander is going to be issuing missions here in a moment. Take a look here. You see the towns are surveying because it's three-sided warfare. And the AI commander, he's going to issue the missions to go and capture these towns. Well, every one of these teams, there they go, he just issued the missions. Every one of these teams is going to go running off to carry out those missions.
Man, medium
Nobody
range.
is going to be staying back here at the base. Basically meaning that if a base is to be defended, I have to defend it, being a player. This is going to be a short mission because, you know, the OpFor is over here by Comedy. You got the Independents over here. They're just over the hill. I mean, they come over that hill, they're going to attack our base, or we could go over the hill and attack their base. But it's going to be a pretty short mission. All right. Another thing is you see these little blue dots right here. I'll go ahead and highlight this one so I know where to go. Right here behind me. All right, it's a defense. Hey, yes, the AI commander will build defenses, but guess what? In a basic warfare mission of this sort, there's no base defense teams that man the weapons. I, as a player, have to have my guy get into
2. Gunner, get in that AA launcher.
the defenses and defend the base. So basically, the AI commander will build the defenses for the base, but as a player, I would have to man the defenses. So those are two issues that we have with this type of a basic warfare, is that there's no base defense teams and there's no vehicle pool. All right, but otherwise, as you can see, the other teams, they received their missions, they took off, and they're engaging in their missions. And I'm sure that they're coming across the independent guys here, over across the hill already. But at any rate, all right, we can see that things are working well. There goes the supply trucks headed for the town that just got captured. They're going to resupply the town. Things are working the way that they should. All right, let's go ahead and get out of this. So there you have it. That's our mission merged from the template. The mission plays, but it doesn't have base defense teams or a vehicle pool. So let's bring back our basic template and create a template that also includes those. Now, base defense teams and a vehicle pool are optional. If not wanted, you can remove them, but it's good to include them in a template and have them in a mission. Base defense teams get their units from the factories, so you only have to put down the leaders. I have this box pattern, and I always put the defense leaders inside the box. That way I know where they are and which ones are which. There are two types of defense teams. One is riflemen only. They man the static defenses that get built around the base. For that, we click a leader, hover, Control-C to copy, and Control-V paste inside the box on one side. And in this unit's init field, we put this line of code. Group this, set variable, dedicated mission, defend base. Note the round brackets, square brackets, quotation marks, comma, and semicolon. Those are important. Now repeat that for the other two sides. Copy a leader, paste, and copy the code from the first unit into the unit's init field. Then sync these three units to warfare. Now for the base patrol. That's usually a mechanized infantry squad. They stay at base and patrol around with a light armored vehicle. For that, we click the defense team leader, hover, Control-C copy,
and Control-V paste right next to him. In the init field of this unit, we replace the word defend with the word patrol, so it reads, group this, set variable, dedicated mission, patrol base. The init code is the same, except the dedicated mission is patrol base instead of defend base, all one word. Now we repeat for the other two sides. Copy the defense leader, paste, and replace the word defend with the word patrol. And we synchronize them with warfare. And there we have the two base defense teams for each side. Now the base defense teams never get set as player or playable. Any team that has a dedicated mission assigned gets run by a script, and that script will mess with any player who takes the unit. So don't set them playable. Only the main teams that run around doing missions created by the commander get set as player or playable. It's one of the reasons why I formed them in a box and put the defense teams inside. It helps to identify them just by looking. I know not to set these units as playable. Now we put down the base vehicle pool. These are empty vehicles that are supposed to be cheap transportation, a base motor pool for players to use for free. You can have as many as you want or none at all. Nobody has to buy them, and if they get destroyed, they respawn back at base. At mission start, they get moved to wherever the base is. The pool is limited to vehicles listed in Warfare's factory configs, which is basically those that show up in the light, heavy, aircraft, airport, and town depot purchase menus. You can use vehicles of a different faction when they're included in the configs. A2's Warfare module has CDF and insurgent vehicles included. They get used in Arma 2's mission, Civil War. Put those vehicles down and they also get moved to base and respawn. But if you put down a vehicle that's not listed, like a DLC or a vehicle from a mod, it won't get moved to base and it won't respawn when destroyed. It'll just be another empty vehicle on the map wherever you happen to place it. So stick to the vehicles listed in the factories, and for your template, you ought to just stick to vehicles from the default factions. You can always switch them whenever you merge into a new mission. Now, empty vehicles have both a side and a faction configured into them, and Warfare looks at the side of a vehicle to decide which base it goes to. So you can't put down a vehicle belonging to OpFor and expect it to show up at the BluFor base. Warfare is going to put it at the OpFor base regardless, because that's the vehicle's side. With empty vehicles, notice that there's no faction drop-down. The factions appear in square brackets next to the unit type. And with some vehicles, once you find the type, you also have to look for the correct faction for the default side. So for the base vehicle pool, you want to review what vehicles are available, consider the side, consider the faction, and then select the vehicle. Okay, what I'm laying down here follows the pattern Bohemia has in the Arma 2 mission, When Diplomacy Fails. BluFor, USMC, has 3 Humvees and an MTVR cargo truck. OpFor, Russia, has 3 UAZs and a utility truck. Independence. Guerrillas don't have any off-roads that are unarmed. The PK pickup has the least powerful gun and carries up to 5 people. They have 3 PK trucks and a V3S cargo truck. I'm arranging them under their units for their side, leaving room for a Spec Ops module in between. That way I can click and drag each side with their cars. Now sync each car with Warfare. and save. But I want to keep the basic template, so this time I'll save it as Warfare Full Template. Now I have both a basic and a full Warfare template available. Let's merge this to the mission we created and preview it. Load our basic Warfare mission, clear map, and merge the Warfare Full template. We don't have to redo the Intel panel because it doesn't get cleared. We only have to set player and playable units. Then position the units. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, save again as Basic Warfare. It updates the mission. And preview. This time I'll choose OpFor. Alright, here we are. And there's the units, and there's the headquarters. First thing I want to do is I want to go to the map and show you something. Notice that the units are laid out in the same pattern as they were on the airfield. And down here, these red dots, those are the empty vehicles, and they're in the same pattern as well. The reason why is because they were located within 150 meters of the headquarters. When I moved all the units from the airfield, I put them here. It always goes to where the first synced unit is, which is the unit that I'm playing. And all these other units, if they're within 150 meters of the headquarters, Warfare does not place them. However, if I would have just moved my unit and left these guys at the airfield, then Warfare would have picked all these units and the vehicles up and put them around the headquarters in random places. Alright. Now, I'm going to vote for the AI commander. And the town. I want to point out the town. We don't have to worry about the town because it's civilian. This is a three-sided warfare. And you see the two defense leaders there in the middle by the headquarters. Yes. That guy there and then the other guy right there. Those are the two defense leaders. I want to focus on the vehicle pool first because base is going to be pandemonium at the very start. Actually, with the barracks constructed, I want to buy myself a team. Get myself 3 riflemen. Alright, we come over here to the vehicle pool. There's the UAZ, there's the transport truck. There's another UAZ there to the left, and another UAZ off right there to the right. I can get in the vehicle. I can drive the vehicle. Let's put it here instead, so it's not blocking. Alright. And we come over here, check out the transport truck. Get in. I can drive the transport truck. I can move to the back seat. Get out. I'm kind of disappointed I haven't gotten my guys yet because I want to do something with them. There we go. There's the first guy. And the reason is because all the other units are buying their units, and of course they get to have their units first. Alright, I want my 3 guys to get in that
Все,
truck.
садись, грузовик. Контакт 032-006. Мужчины.
I'm going to have them go and do something. Come on, guys. Pick it up. Put some gas in that step. Move it, move it, move it. Come on, Dawdler. Get a move on. Alright, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have them come over here and capture this town.
Все, движение к юг, 500 метров.
because everybody else is busy capturing this town. I'm going to have them guys put a little bit of extra movement on that. Oh, one main thing about this is that my guys have a vehicle and they're moving off to do a capture mission. But look at my funds here. I've still got $250 because I didn't have to buy that vehicle. It makes a big difference. So that's the advantage of having a vehicle pool. Alright, so let's go back to base now and let's focus on the defense teams and the base patrol. The defense team, those are the guys that man the static weapons. Let's go into the construction menu and look around the base. There's a static weapon that the AI commander placed, and we look at it and that guy's already manning it. Now the first static weapon that's laid down by the laid down at the base, the leader of the defense team takes that, and then all of his other guys start running around the base randomly. And if we look around the base, you'll see that there are some guys who are running around randomly. Alright, they're not in a group formation. That's the defense team guys, the infantry guys. And as the defenses get built around the base, the defense team leader will order one of them to take over each static defense as it gets built. There are 9 positions for static weapons, and there are 9 members in the defense team. Alright, next let's look at the base patrol, find out where that is. It's going to be around here somewhere, patrolling around. I don't think it's either. That's not that. There he is, right there. Alright. No, he might be part of that team there. So I might have to look around and find where the base patrol guy is. The mechanized unit. It's a mechanized unit and it has an infantry with it, but the mechanized unit will not necessarily go where the infantry guys go. The infantry guys usually stay in a team, and the mechanized unit just patrols around. Odd that I'm having to look around to find him. Maybe I'm missing him and you see him. I don't know. Or maybe that is him right there. He's just stuck in a traffic jam with these guys. But at any rate, there's also the infantry patrol that's part of that mechanized unit. There they are right there. That's the mechanized unit infantry guys. I'm sorry, my dog's barking in the background. She wants attention. Alright, enough of this. You can see that it's working the way that it should. So let's go ahead and get out of this. And that's it. We now have both a basic and a full warfare template saved, which you can import onto any other map using the merge button. The basic template does not include base defense or vehicle pools, where the full template does. Now we come to the finale. Let me pick another map.
We'll use Chernarus. New editor, play, click merge, select UTES, select warfare full template, OK, and there the units are, down by Bohr.
I want to move them to a clear area away from any towns, because when the mission starts, they spawn in place, then get moved to the base. But in that moment when they spawn, it can reveal the side of a nearby town. Make sure independents are friendly to nobody in Intel. Set player and playable, but not the base defense teams, of course. They never get set playable. I'll save this mission as full warfare. And preview. I'll play independent this time. Alright, here we are. There's our guys. I see vehicles, and there's the headquarters. I want to get near the headquarters before the AI commander sets up the base, because I don't want a barracks dropped on my head. Alright, let's wait for him to deploy. There we go. Get myself in a safe place from having any vehicles run me over. Alright, let's see where we are. We are in between Gorka and Novi Sobor. So all of the AIs are going to head for those two towns to try and capture them. The AI commander is also going to issue a recon mission. That's usually what I focus on first. And so I'll get myself a unit, a medic. And he and I will head off on the recon mission. Now, first I want to get rid of this gun. Yeah, I'd rather have a GP25, I think. That's a bit much on the ammo. I'm going to get rid of this extra ammo. I only want 4 magazines. And, oh, and yeah, before I upgrade, you notice there's only 3 magazines there, but I said 4. That's because the weapon has a magazine in it. And the RPG launcher also has a rocket in it. If I close this and I go to the gear, you can see I have 4 magazines and I have a rocket. That rocket is inside the launcher and that magazine is inside the weapon when you're buying gear. But I don't want that launcher, and the reason is because then I cannot afford things that I want to buy. Alright, I'll go ahead and upgrade. I think I have my medic now. We'll go ahead. Yeah, I'll take this truck. I will take the gun and have him get in the driver's seat. And let's check our missions. There's a recon mission, and we have the recon mission assigned, and there's capture Novi Sobor. So everybody else is going to be running off to capture Novi Sobor. We'll do the recon mission. Alright, where is the recon mission? That is off... Oh, wow. Yeah, well, the towns are civilian, so... Well, actually, you know, if everybody's going to be running off to Novi Sobor. If we take this road down, we can actually capture Goglovo on the way to do the recon mission. So let's do that. Let's have Goglovo be the task. And then once we capture that, we'll head off and get the recon mission done. Alright. And I will tell my guy, go to the next waypoint. Notice I didn't lay down a waypoint. No, that's because we have a mission. And when you don't lay down a waypoint, the mission becomes the waypoint itself. So he will move to Goglovo so that we can move into capture. Before we do that, I want to go, let's see, have him back up a bit until we get in the construction menu. There we go. I want to go into the construction menu and look around the base, see how things are going. Alright. We got guys who are moving off. There's some guys standing around right there. You notice that we have the base defense teams running around. Alright, it looks to me like everything is doing like it should. Alright. So, dude, go to the next waypoint. Alright, off we go. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get out of this. Now I would go into the Intel panel and finish setting that up. Mission name, description, time, and all that. But there you have it. We've got a basic and a full warfare template that could be merged onto any other map, and a full playable warfare mission. No respawn or supports yet, but that will be subject to the next video, turning a basic warfare mission into a regular one. How to set up respawn and the parameters so you can choose options, like supports, how many towns on the map, victory conditions, and whatnot. I hope this video has found helpful to some of you warfare warriors out there, whoever and wherever you may be. I know this is a really long video for the simple purpose it serves, but hopefully all of the extra information given here can be found useful by some. The rest of the videos in this series ought to be much shorter in length. So have fun gaming, and until next time, Opus out.